This week is Holy Week, so we're on a journey with Jesus through Holy Week. Yesterday, we welcomed him into Jerusalem along with the crowds crying Hosanna on Palm Sunday. And today is Holy Monday. Among other things that Jesus did on Monday of this week was that he went into his Father's house in the temple in Jerusalem, and he cleared it of all of those doing business for a profit, because his Father's house was to be a place of prayer and worship. But we're not going to so much reflect on that together today. Instead, we're going to overhear another conversation that Jesus has. And we hear it in Mark chapter 11, beginning at verse 12. It says, "On the following day, that is, the day after Palm Sunday, when they came from Bethany, Jesus was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, 'May no one ever eat fruit from you again.' And his disciples heard it." So Jesus goes up to this tree when he's hungry, hoping to find some fruit from it, but he finds none. And although it wasn't the season for this fig tree to produce fruit, still it should have known exactly who was staring right at it: the one who made it. And so even if it produced fruit for no one else, it should have produced fruit for Jesus. But it didn't. It didn't do the very thing that Jesus had made it for. And so Jesus says to it, "You have no place in my kingdom. You have no place in my world." And he curses the tree because it's not fulfilling its purpose. It gets us to think a little bit about our own lives. Do the way our lives look, does it appear we're ready to receive Jesus? Are our hearts, our souls prepared for Jesus to come again, which he will? It's really something for us to think about, although we're not going to do it so much here. Instead, we're going to continue on with a conversation that Jesus has with his disciples the next morning, on Tuesday morning. And we pick it up in verse 20 of Mark chapter 11. And we hear this: "As they passed by in the morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, 'Rabbi, look, the fig tree that you cursed has withered.'" This world is enthralled by power. I was recently watching streaming a show actually, and in one of the episodes there was a line that went something like this: "Only a fool would choose money over power." Because the world is fascinated with power, with what power can do, how it can exert control, and often for self-gain. And that's what catches the disciples' eyes here as well: the power that Jesus exerts, so that when he curses a tree, when the next morning they see it, it's withered. And they are enthralled by that. They're fascinated, captivated by it, by Jesus' use of power. But this is how Jesus responds. He says this: "Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father also, who is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses." Jesus acknowledges that his followers have power, that they've even been given the power of heaven through the gift of prayer. But what he says to them is don't use this power of heaven that you've been given meaninglessly, for meaningless things in this world. Don't go to your Father in heaven and ask him to use power for its own sake. Don't go to him and ask him to curse a tree or to throw a mountain into the sea, although if you went to him, he might do it for you, because through prayer you have the power of heaven. But instead, Jesus says to them, use the power of heaven that you've been given through prayer by going to your Father in heaven and praying to him as I've taught you to pray. Go to him and ask him, may your kingdom come. May your gracious reign come into this world so that it may know your compassion and your mercy and your peace. May you bring forgiveness into this world through me so that people might be reconciled, so that people can know what it means to be at peace with one another. That's how Jesus desires for us to use the power of heaven that we've been given through the gift of prayer. Have a holy Monday.